All right, so today we're going to be doing something very special on Versus. We're going to be comparing 3 different laptops at 3 very different price points that came out at 3 very different times.
Well, not quite. 2 came out the same year. 1 came out almost 10 years earlier.
Yeah, so we're going to be comparing one of the original MacBooks that came out in 2008. It goes for around $400 now. To one of the latest 2017 iMac Pros that goes for $10,000 Canadian. So let's get into it. I didn't really know what to expect. I mean, 10 years ago, this thing was the bee's knees, Nathan.
Yeah, so this was probably at the upper class of laptops.
Woo. Remember back in the day when these things glowed at the back, these Apple logos, they stopped it. These used to glow. These used to glow white, so at nighttime or in the dark, it would glow. This one's kind of broken. We got this one used.
So this laptop was at the height of technology advancements back in 2008. Unfortunately, the battery on this is so bad that we have to keep it plugged in, otherwise it will shut off.
Yeah, it does not hold the charge.
One thing that I did notice right off the top that's significantly different comparing this to the MacBook Pro and the iMac Pro was the trackpad.
Oh.
This trackpad, you have to actually click the buttons here, and this part here is not touchscreen. This part is touchscreen, but then you have to click the mouse here, kind of like you would on a typical mouse keyboard or some older style laptops, whereas the MacBook Pro is all trackpad and the buttons, you can just click the trackpad itself.
Yeah, no, that is a good point. This is the trackpad that comes for the iMac Pro. There's no buttons on it. The whole trackpad is a button. That is a weird thing. I didn't even notice that, to be honest, looking at it. But a couple other features. This, what is this? What are the specs on this bad boy, Nathan?
The specs on this, it's running a 2-core Duo Intel processor or CPU. It's got 2 gigabytes of RAM, so that's not very much at all. It has an Intel GMA X3100 video card. That is pretty bad, and only 160 gigabytes of storage.
Yeah, so back then, I mean, 160 gigabytes.
That was a lot.
That was a lot. I mean, usually back then, photos are like 2 megabytes each. You know, video files, there's only 720p in 2008.
And if you think about it, back then, people weren't really using photo and video like they're doing in today's day.
They weren't vlogging.
Yeah, it's much more common and dominant in 2018, or 2019 actually, I'm sorry, than it was back in 2008.
So in terms of build quality, it's okay. It's a hardened plastic. You can see that there are external screws that are keeping it together. For I/O, you do have some USB. You also have a Ethernet on it. You also have a Fire. Wait, is that FireWire? Which one's? This one is FireWire. I believe it's called FireWire. It's either FireWire 400 or FireWire 800. It also has a display out. This is what the display port used to look like. That is ancient. It also has a headphone, mic, and a key lock system in case anyone was going to steal.
Laptops used to have that. That was really common a few years ago, but they just kind of got away from that.
I mean, if someone's going to steal your laptop, they're going to steal your laptop.
It also has a disk drive on this side, which is very interesting. Now, another kind of interesting thing that I noticed that Apple hasn't really upgraded their design is in the keyboard. The keyboard is pretty much the exact same. Maybe not in the technology behind the buttons, but overall the keyboard is the exact same as regular keyboards. Now, some of them have the touch screen, but overall, there's not much change.
So this was one of Apple's best inventions, so to speak. It was the chiclet keyboard. And I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people switched over to Mac is because A, the keyboard was just that much better. Nowadays, in the newest MacBook Pros and, you know, MacBooks, they use a butterfly key switch instead, which a lot of people are actually complaining about because there's not as much movement and it feels a bit different. What's the resolution like? That resolution, oh, it lagged closing an app.
Did you see that lag?
It lagged. Okay, this screen.
Try closing this one again.
Where is it? Full brightness? Is that full brightness? Okay, there we go. Full brightness. How does it look on that camera? Does that look dark? Bright? I think it looks pretty dark.
It's okay.
Looking at the front, it looks. Okay.
So I'm gonna open an app, and then we're gonna
app?
see it on this camera here how laggy it is. We're gonna open not an app, sorry, Safari.
You're gonna open Safari. Ooh.
So it's not as slick.
Ooh, it jumped. Okay.
But yeah, it's slow.
It's showing its age. It is now 11 years old. Back in the day, this was it. This is all you needed to run things smoothly. It's kind of weird. What do you think happened? Like Safari back in the day, I'm sure on this device, ran perfectly smooth.
Well, smooth, what was perceived as smooth. Like that function could have been smooth.
I don't think it was that
No?
jumpy back then. I mean, if it was that jumpy back then, people would have been like, yo, why is it that jumpy? I don't know. It's interesting. The MacBook, $400. Let's see what we use nowadays. What we're gonna be looking at now is pretty much our daily drivers. We're gonna be comparing one of the top spec MacBook Pros of 2017 to one of the top-ish specs iMac Pros, $5,000 versus $10,000, laptop versus desktop.
The MacBook Pro that we are going to be looking at is actually the maxed out version. All the best possible
Specs, except for storage. That's sort of a ripoff. You want to go to 4 terabytes, that's like an extra $4,000. We didn't do that. Maxed out 2017 MacBook Pro versus
kind of the mid to upper level in terms of specifications. We didn't want to completely max out because it'd be an extra like $3,000. For our daily use for this MacBook, or sorry, for the iMac, it wouldn't be economical to get the maxed out.
Yeah, so let's go over the actual specs of each one.
So the specifications for this MacBook Pro, it's running an i7 6-core CPU. It's got 16 gigabytes of RAM. That is 14 gigabytes more than the MacBook that we just looked at.
Yeah.
It has a Randon Pro 560 with 4 gigs of graphics memory.
Yep.
And finally, 1 terabyte of storage.
Yeah, no, it's pretty specced out. One thing that is notable about this laptop compared to the actual older laptop is that the only ports you will find on this laptop, its I/O, are 4 USB Type-C Thunderbolt 3 versions, as well as an aux out. That's it.
Something that Apple did to kind of really monopolize their market, they would make you get adapters. And some people didn't like that.
No, I mean, it makes sense, you know, instead of having to manufacture different holes into your laptop, it's now just 4 Thunderbolt 3 ports.
But in terms of like usability and overall user experience, if
Yeah.
I want to charge my iPhone, I can't just plug it in here because there's no USB port, right?
Cable.
Yeah, I could get a cable, but I have to buy an additional one that doesn't come with the iPhone. Similarly, if I want to charge like my headphones or something like that, you have to get an adapter like the Hotu or the Satoshi one that will adapt to the
That's true.
MacBook. So it's an extra amount of money you're going to spend on that.
If I'm gonna be honest, if you are dropping upwards of $5,000 on a laptop, an extra $100 for a dongle,
But
not
$100
really.
is still $100, right?
Lower your spec, get the
Just
dongle.
saying.
But this is my daily driver. This is what I use for everything that I do. This is my Netflix watcher as well as my editing station. I have used this for the past 2 years without a hitch.
No issues?
No issues to speak of. Not that I know of. I mean, it's kind of starting to lag now. I think it's time to upgrade. I don't know. It feels like it's lagging. The iMac Pro.
So the specifications on this are pretty crazy. You have a 10-core Xeon CPU, 64 gigabytes of RAM, 16 gigabyte Verta 64 for the graphics card, or graphics memory, I'm sorry, and 2 terabytes of storage. That is massive. 2 terabytes.
100% outclasses my MacBook Pro. Without a doubt, it's just insane. 10 cores, 64 gigabytes of RAM. That in itself is like
That's not
4
even the
times.
top level. You can get 128 gigabytes of RAM if you wish. But I feel like that's excessive.
So in terms of I/O, this is rocking a bunch of ports on the back. You will not have a shortage of it. So to start off, it has a headphone output, which makes sense. I mean, that's sort of needed on any type of computer. You also have an SD card reader, which is something that Apple actually scrapped on their latest generation
I like
of
that
MacBook.
because if you're using like a camera or a drone or something, you don't have to get an adapter. You can just plug it straight into the laptop or to the MacBook. Sorry.
Yeah. It also was rocking 4 USB standard 3.0 jacks. USB 3, it's pretty fast, but it doesn't come close to the 4 Thunderbolt 3 ports that are also on it. Now these are crazy. Through one cable you can rock 2 monitors as well as a bunch of external storage.
Wow.
Just insane. And this has 4 of those. And of course the last port, it does have 10 gigabit Ethernet, which is pretty interesting. Now, what we're gonna do is quickly, we're gonna do a Geekbench test on both of them, see which one is a bit faster, and then after that, we're gonna be talking about our daily uses on it. Which one is
will
better?
we prefer?
Which one is more worth it? So, let's get both out. Let's open up. Oh my gosh. We gotta open up Geekbench on yours. All right, so we have Geekbench open. Don't click it just yet.
Please, no! No!
All right, we're gonna be doing this at the exact same time. I don't think I have anything else open on my laptop. Okay, anyways, you ready?
3, 2, 1.
Now, it's gonna be pretty interesting to see sort of the difference, mobile versus desktop, seeing if there is that big of a difference. I mean, I'm sure there will be.
Yeah, I would expect the iMac to be much, much more powerful.
Oh gosh, look at how quickly yours is running through this test. Pretty much what Geekbench does, it actually stress tests each component on your computer, on your system, to see how well each individual part performs, and then what it does, it takes that score and comes out with an overall single core as well as multi-core score for your CPU, which is your main computer processor, in like a day or two. Oh! Whose is first? Oh. This is surprising. So my computer only has a quad-core processor. Yours has a 10-core processor. So obviously the multi-core score is going to be significantly different. But one thing that did surprise me is the single-core score.
Yeah, it's
surprisingly close.
800 and a factor of 800.
Yeah.
That's how close it is.
So my computer is only 20% slower for its single-core performance than yours.
That's pretty good. Multi-core, it's a little bit.
Yeah, that's a
more
different story.
far-fetched.
I
It's
mean,
about double.
4 cores
Over double.
versus 10 cores. I mean, I can't really compete with that. All right, so what we're gonna be doing now is the GPU test. The CPU score was pretty comparable.
For the single one.
Yeah.
For the multi, it was
To an
crazy.
extent, it was pretty comparable. But here we go. We're gonna be doing the Cinebench R15 GPU test in 3, 2, 1, click. Now, this is probably where we're gonna see the biggest difference.
Hopefully.
Both of them do have a dedicated graphics card. Both of them are Radeon graphics cards. Ooh, look at that. What does it do? Okay, so pretty much what you do is it's rendering a scene out. Hopefully it doesn't take forever. So it sees how well your computer can actually render the scene. If there's any frame drops. It's doing a bunch of different effects. Like it's doing anti-aliasing, global illumination, stuff like that. All right, so I'm not gonna lie, that was pretty good. How many frames per second did you get?
136.
All right, and I
Yours
got
was
87 frames per second.
interesting.
So in that same amount of time, mine performed about half what yours could
A little bit
output.
over half.
Yeah.
But if you think about it from a price standpoint, this was about $10,000 and this was about $5,000. So if you drop it by about half, it should be comparable.
One of the biggest things to consider when you are looking to purchase one of these two devices is the actual usability of it. So
Yes.
this is where we're going to be talking about what we do in our daily lives and how we use each system. Nathan.
I use the iMac specifically for editing these videos. Yes, I edit them. And so that's kind of what the daily driver is for this. We use Final Cut Pro,
Yes.
Photoshop. That's what we use as a daily driver to run basically this YouTube channel.
Yeah,
That's the main thing.
Nathan needs to crunch very large files. I mean, the files that come out of these cameras are pretty massive,
Yeah,
I'd
some
say.
of them can be up to 300 gigabytes. And
Yeah.
we've got 3 cameras.
So, with all that being said, this is the power horse. It can render through Apple's algorithm, Final Cut Pro, pretty smoothly. And it works.
Yep.
That's why we needed it. Mine, on the other hand, I can take it on the go. I edit my videos on. I pretty much use a Panasonic GH5. It renders 4K video fine. It uses only one camera. But I think the main difference is that I can take this to a Starbucks if I so choose and still work on my videos. Which, I mean,
think that's very
you want to take
beneficial.
this to Starbucks? I mean, you can do it. You just gotta find an outlet.
And a backpack to store it.
You don't want to take you don't think we should take them? No? No?
But this, the iMac is specifically for like desktop operations. It's not
Yeah.
going to moving around. You're going to have it in an office and it's going to stay there. Whereas the MacBook, you're going to use it maybe at your desk, then you're going to go sit on your bed, or you're going to go in a coffee shop and use it. It's very versatile that way.
Now, for that one reason alone, my worth it winner of this versus, it's 100% the MacBook Pro Max Out. Now, there is a 2018 version, which is actually a lot faster than this one. It's about 1.5 times faster in every single test. So if you are looking for something more powerful that is portable, that is an option. Nathan, which one is most portable?
I would have to agree. I I move around a lot, whether I'm at home and I'm using my laptop at my desk, or I want to go downstairs and work in the kitchen, or I'm going to a coffee shop. I want to be able to bring my laptop easily with me. And so that's why I would pick the laptop any day.
There's no other way to put it. A laptop is just more versatile.
Absolutely.
You lose some power. If you are rendering like a massive project, then yes, 100% you need a desktop. Or render it overnight while you're sleeping. That's also another solution. Oh, we kind of forgot. So you also got this option for $400.
You can still buy it if you
can
wish.
still buy it.
Very slow. If you're really
Very
tight
slow.
on money and you can only afford to spend $400, this
You know what?
is the way to go.
I'm pretty sure if you buy an iPhone 6s for the same amount of money, it can do more computing than this laptop. That's all I have to say.
Maybe,
a cell
maybe.
phone can perform better than this laptop. Yeah, don't, please don't. If you have $400, don't even look at this.
Invested in Apple instead of buying that.
We're dying to see what you guys think in the comments below. Would you guys pick up this old MacBook Pro from 2008 for $400 or not? Or an iMac or a MacBook Pro? I don't know. We're interested. Leave a like if you enjoyed.
And subscribe if you're new.